Hello and welcome to Horseplayer Happy Hour. I'm your host, Peter Thomas Fornatal, not in the Brooklyn bunker, as you may have guessed from the palm trees. No palm trees in the bunker just yet. I am coming to you from San Diego as we approach opening day at Del Mar, and I'm at one of my favorite breweries in the world, Pure Project, the Carlsbad location. They make such great stuff, and very happy to be able to broadcast from here today. I decided, what better way to take Horseplayer Happy Hour seriously than drinking great beer here at a local brewery, some lovely West Coast IPA in the glass at the moment. And I am joined by a man who is coming to us from Middle America. We've got a lot of ground covered here on this podcast today. He happens to be your reigning Breeders' Cup Betting Challenge champion and my business partner, one of my business partners at In the Money Media. He is Drew Coatney. Drew, how are things?
I'm doing good. They're loading the gate for the 6th right now, and I am very jealous. We talked earlier today. I didn't know you were enjoying the California laid-back lifestyle.
Oh, yeah. Now, I didn't realize this, producer Craig. I thought this race was going to have gone off before we went on air. But if you can hustle and do your magic, we can watch this 6th race live with Drew. Drew, you're playing in the contest today. You look to be doing pretty well last I saw. What horse do you have in here, and why do you like this runner? And then we'll go right to Frank Miramati. But tell us who you're rooting for.
Yeah, Dancing Nancy, not only a Dave Matthews fan in my old fandom days, but also my wife's name is Nancy. But Chad Brown, Bob LaPenta and team, so figured they had something right with this one. Looks like we're getting.
Give me a number. Give me a number, and then we'll go right to the call.
6.
The 6. All right, we're rooting for the 6 for Drew. Craig, let's send it to Frank.
Got up.
Late run from the favorite gets the job done. I didn't see. Did you get shuffled there at some point in the race? Was there any excuse?
Yeah, 2 shuffles. There was a shuffle in early stretch that I think I wasn't watching closely enough, but it looked like trying to establish position early didn't work out well.
That's one of those for the contest, though. If you don't have it, you'd rather see the favorite there. So coming in at even money, not gonna mess you up too much. Once that leaderboard goes official, Craig, let's take a look at who's doing what today. Meanwhile, we'll give you the scoop. This is Horseplayer Happy Hour, which is an interconnected series of contests. You have a chance by playing for your $20 entry fee, where the house cut goes to charity. If you finish in the top 10%, you advance to a Breeders' Cup Betting Challenge qualifier, $179 usually to buy into that. You win your entry to that by finishing in the top 10%. But then also, based on your top scores throughout the season, you have a chance to be the overall champion. And we haven't looked at that overall leaderboard in a while either, Craig, if you want to pull that up at some point for us to talk over. If you finish number 1 in that, you get your BCBC seat, or you can qualify for what we call our playoffs. This is the regular season. We also have playoffs where the top 2 finishers from every week, as well as then other top finishers on the tour, have a chance to compete in our playoffs for a second BCBC seat. So, in short, $20,000 added to the prize pool at no cost to players and a generous charitable donation. It's something that, we want. As we get a lot of people involved every week, and I wish there were even more. All right, here are the standings. Look at that. We've got Silky Wilkie himself, a man who, if he had his druthers, would only drink White Russians in first. And then we have Daryl Parker.
Oh, he looks to have frozen on us, but we've got Mr. Big Brad Anderson sitting in second as well with 100 points. Jeff Vendry, Robert Senzano, Mark Stovall, Robert Courtney, Brendan Snodgrass. These names probably Pete knows better than most others. So a lot of folks, Chris Littlemore, a lot of folks here, but things are still up for grabs. And I see producer Craig scrolling, so we must have lost Pete on this. But, man, was that 3, all the goods, and they knew at even money coming in. And looks like there's an inquiry on the 2, 44-1. I think came over and bounced around on a couple of horses there. So we'll have to see the stretch drive to see how that goes out. But yeah, a good result for anyone playing in the contest that didn't have the 3 like myself to get the favorite in to keep the standings in check.
Looking like we've got Kevin Lux in first with Chris Couples, Amanda Couples right back there in third. A little bit of a family feud action. John Bowl, Tim Mazurnak, Lou Arellano, another familiar name, Pete Dressens, former Rookie of the Year from the NHC Tour, Dave Nichols, double-barreled, Howard Johnson, and Gina Giorusso rounding out the top 11. How many did we get today, Drew? Did you notice?
I did not know, but there's an inquiry on the 2 horse at 44-1, third place, that almost took out whoever was on the 1 in there, Junior Alvarado. He was great horsemanship to keep that one on her feet. The number 1 at 20-1 took all chances away. Or is it the 8? I'm sorry, I'm not a steward for you all.
We'll figure it out. 164 entries, it looks like, on the day. So the top 16 will advance to play on Saturday. The top 10 will accrue points for that tour. Everybody chasing Silky Wilkie at the moment. We might have to get him on. He's a true racetrack character who I've had the pleasure of hanging out with many times at Keeneland, and I'm curious to see. I'm sure he's playing today and looking to get the stranglehold on the $10,000 BCBC seat. He, not unlike yourself, Drew, has arrived on the contest scene just in the last couple of years and is already making some noise. What's been going on with your horse playing? How has Saratoga been so far? Are you looking forward to Del Mar? Any other contests coming up that you're excited about?
Yeah, I'm looking to support Brian Skirka and team. They have a bunch of BCBC seats up. I think it paid down to 7 last year. So if anyone's interested, I don't even know if this is a paid promo. So I guess I apologize.
They're friends. Their BCBC seats are in the prize pool, so you are more than welcome to mention them on the Breeders' Cup airwaves. Plus, Haskell Day. Haskell's a win in your in race for the BCBC. I didn't prep you for this, but have you looked at the Haskell yet? If not, I'll do it with Jess later in the show.
No, I have started to look at it. It's an interesting morning line that I think I haven't checked over on Odds Checker to see what the international markets are trading at, which will help give a better indication of where some money's going. But I think it's kind of Mage's race to win here, to lose as it is, because the Preakness, everyone has noted, National Treasure went out and set easy fractions, and Mage, that's just not Mage's jam. So I see a good bit of speed in here a little bit with How Great Is Nate, Extra and Yeho wants to go, Arabian Night. It's just like too much. So and on the rail with Go Rocket Ride for Mike Smith and Mandela. So if you're in the jocks room, this is another one. I wish we had mic'd up the jocks room so we could understand who's going to go, who's going to grab. Because if I'm a jockey who has any bit of ability to sit back and rate, I will. One interesting horse in here is Salute the Stars that could fit perfectly at 8-1. Progressive type for Cox that started his career over on the grass, got a maiden win after the second start, and then switched over to dirt and then N2L. Barely got it done, and then bumped up over at Monmouth to their Pegasus Stakes. And it looks like I had a bit of a trip, so I'm going to have to go back and look. That's how I found Arcangelo, is looking at the trip to see what would the buyer be if everything worked perfectly. That was somewhat of a huge layoff going from that maiden to the N2L of almost a year, going from August to May. Ran an 81 buyer, came back in the stakes 93, so Brad and team knew what they were doing. And then if that could be a 98, 97, if I can attribute maybe a length or two in there to bump up the buyer points and the ability figure, as Mike Maloney likes to talk about in the book Betting with an Edge, co-authored by the guy over there.
Some random guy. Don't worry about him.
Yeah, he puts pretty words on paper. If the ability figure, if I could move that up a little bit, that might be a great one, because you get this every Derby trail. The household names take the money. And in these bigger pools like Haskell Day, the CAWs don't completely take our value.
I am very much with Arabian Night in this spot. I really think he is not only laid out for it as a race that Baffert has won so many times, but I'm deciding to take the quotes from Gustavo Delgado, from Ramiro Restrepo, literally about Mage, which is the idea that they really are thinking of this more as a prep. He's only 80, 85%. Thinking about it in buyer figure terms, 85%, that's going to be 10 points off his top at least. And meanwhile, you have a horse like Arabian Night. He's got these strong speed figures. But what I really like about Arabian Night, I think if you go back and look at that January 28th race from Oaklawn, the Southwest Stakes, not every, but so many horses have come back and run better figures, right? So Red Route 1 went up 5 the next start. Sun Thunder went up 8. Jace's Road went up 9. Corona Bolt went up 20 odd something. Ultimate went up 14, and Western again went up 12. So, these are improving 3-year-olds. They're supposed to get faster as the year goes on, but that's a little extreme. I think what I'm trying to say is I think that 96 is more like 100. So let's take a horse that ran 100 on January 28th of his 3-year-old year, and let's see how fast he is laid out for a spot in July. I think he's going to be exceedingly tough to beat. Now, you mentioned about the speed, and there is an awful lot of it in this spot. But as I've so often made the analogy, the shrewd jockey, like John Velasquez, sitting on the outermost drawn speed horse, it's almost like sitting on the button in poker. The other players have to play their hands before you. So if somebody wants to go hammer and tongs, he can either try to drop in. If multiple horses go forward, I think he tries to drop in. If one horse goes forward, I think he gets that patented John Velasquez, 2.5 wide first over type trip, which is often a winning one in the way that modern thoroughbred racetracks are groomed. And then, of course, if everybody's being conservative, boom, just go right to the lead. In any case, look, Mage's A game obviously not only gives him a race, but probably beats him. But I think Mage, as your Derby winner, he's going to catch all manner of money. And I think you're going to get a bettable price on Arabian Night, whereas on the straight form, he looks to me to be about a 3-2 shot in here. So I'm very much with Arabian Night in this spot. Are you buying my argument at all?
Yeah, it just gets.
It's more fun if you don't. By the way, don't defer to me here. Tell me what you think.
Yeah, I'm buying what you're selling. A couple of my hesitations. One, I don't play Monmouth a lot, so how that 1 1/8 configurations run and how that turn comes up and how jockeys are settling in, I think that's one question. Because if you have 3 or 4 wide and he's getting pushed 5 wide and like the wrong decisions made and the game's over early, that hurts. So I see it, but I also see a more probable scenario of he's going to have the hardest trip of his entire life and could be immensely short. So, yeah, got loose on both of these. I haven't watched the replays yet and done all the full work because I'm going to be playing in that contest, so I got a lot more to go. But I like a spot where I can take my bankroll, play 2 or 3 horses all in. Like I said, Salute the Stars isn't going to take a massive amount of my bankroll to have that covered to win the contest or at least finish top 7. The Mage thing, I don't know. It feels like, it's like Chelsea and Wrexham last night. I don't know who the manager of Chelsea is, but he said, the sports commentators were all saying, they're not fully fit yet. They're not having their starters. They're not ready. Look, 5-0, right? So when the race fits, sometimes you got to play it. So I'm still sitting with Mage. Tapit Trice is one that's going to be interesting, and I feel bad for the Tapit Trice fan club and Howard Kravitz and the gang over there at the Triple H racing show. They love this horse. I don't know if 1 1/8 is what this horse wants, but we'll see. Right now I think I'm pretty anchored on Mage, Salute the Stars, and maybe one other. But if you go with Arabian Night, I think in the contest you got to marry yourself to that singular horse.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think. Look, Mage is going to take a lot of the market too, but I do think it's not. Yeah, the horse isn't going to be any kind of long shot. I'd be surprised if very surprised if he's as long as the morning line. You heard a little bit of the coaster out here behind me there, the Carlsbad Village Station here right behind me, where I'm broadcasting from at Pure Project. Tapatrice, definitely a horse that is worth highlighting. I think it's a tough question with him. I think what you have to decide with Tapatrice seems incapable to this point in his career of running in behind another horse. He seems to like bug out. So is that a character flaw or is that greenness? Because if it's a character flaw, in other words, something that he cannot correct, I just think that's not a way that you're going to be able to win this Haskell. If it's just been greenness and he's grown up since we've last seen him and he has more steps forward to take, well, that could be a very different scenario. So I am standing against this time, but it's not like I would fall over if he won. I think that would be indicative of the fact that he's just, improving all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. Who do you think in this spot has absolutely no shot is the takeout reducer?
I mean, I could see somebody arguing that. I could see somebody arguing that about Tapatrice based on some of the characteristics he's shown, and seems like a horse who'd be more suited to a race like the Travers. They've talked about this as a prep for the Travers for Mage. I mean, maybe in a way you could say that for Tapatrice, because this is a horse race that typically favors speedier horses. It's a mile and an eighth. It plays shorter than that typically because of the way that Monmouth goes. And meanwhile, here's Tapatrice, who to this point is in his career, grinds like he's working for tips, if you catch my meaning.
I don't, Pete. Let's move on. I think my takeout reducer in this one is Awesome Strong. Would love to know connections if they're just there to have a horse in the big day. With a $30,000 OBS October 21 purchase. Just feels like is light on numbers, is going to have the wrong style, and frankly, it's just going to get in the way. So Awesome Strong, the number 2 drawn inside with Batista aboard. That feels like a takeout.
We're double fisting here. We're now double fisting here at Horseplayer Happy Hour. We've got a couple of here. They don't call them New England IPAs. They call them murky IPAs, and they're typically very, very good. Not the only beer they have. I've been sticking to the West Coast stuff, but we've got some East Coast style in my face. My problem with that, Drew, is you're telling me a takeout reduces a horse is going to be 50-1. You're not reducing much of the takeout when they're only going to have 1 or 2% of the pool. Hey,
1 or 2%. I can make money on that with enough money. I'll take 1 or 2%. Yeah. No. But I think this is going to be a fascinating race to see how it works out betting. And from a contest perspective, I'm going to be scout. Odds Checker doesn't have it up yet for the which I love. I'll always remember that story of I think it was JK trying to find some odds, and he forgot that we had to look at international odds for Odds Checker for our domestic races, because Odds Checker is based over in the UK too.
We do have fixed odds betting at Monmouth, so this is I don't want to plug the website where you can get this info, because I don't know the politics of it, but I'm going to take a look now and tell you what people at Monmouth can bet on Saturday in terms of their fixed odds, and we can look at the race. Why not? We'll look at the race through that lens for a minute, and let's take a look. So these are decimals. I want to make sure I get this right. So Go Rocket Ride 7, Awesome Strong 50, Salute the Stars 13, Mage 7-2. Interesting. Same price as Tapatrice. How Great is Nate 30s, Extra on Yeho 6, and then you have at about 8-5 favoritism right now, Arabian Night. So does that change your view of the race at all, or I would imagine that just strengthens your idea on Mage getting that nice of a price. I cannot imagine Mage will be that long on the tote.
Yeah, because let's do some math. Your bankroll is $500, so winning target's going to be about $8,000, and so for 7-2, I'm only going to need to have I'm just going to need to triple my bankroll up to 1,500, and then you're only going to need a couple $100 to cover off Salute the Stars from a sanity perspective. Alternatively, just betting Salute the Stars on the side at that price, you're probably going to get a decent number and just put it all through.
Well, that's a really interesting concept, and let's pause on that for a minute, Drew, because I think that's something that not enough people think about. And it's actually really good for racing because it encourages more people to bet more money through the tote, which is obviously a huge benefit, to the business when people are betting more, as of course tracks and horsemen get more money for the more money that people bet through the windows. So talk about what you mean and maybe give an example of betting a horse outside the context of the contest in cash, and give people a little bit of a clue about that, because it's not really talk. I mean, Matt Miller is the only person, obviously a mentor and friend of yours, one of the only people I've ever heard talk about it on, and I don't think it's even ever been on our airwaves before. So yeah, let's delve into that topic for a minute.
Yeah, and this is his concept. When you're deep in a contest, what's it going to cost? It could be earlier on, but more importantly, deep in the contest, is there an opportunity?
Pretend it's the last race.
Yeah, in you're trying to win. Let's just clarify that, because there's so many nuances. If a great example is the Belmont Stakes Express Bet contest, where I didn't want to win, I wanted to finish fourth, so bet $190 out of my $13,000 bankroll. Right, that you'd never hedge on the side with that. But if I'm leveraging my entire bankroll, I want to get to a number to win, $8,000. So if I have $1,500 in my bankroll on Saturday, which I'm hoping to have a little bit more than, I can go ahead and push all in on one horse. That's going to win me the contest. But what I could roll back and do on the side is leverage capital on the side to push, I don't know, you could probably even Dutch Arabian Night and Salute the Stars. Your entry is $2,000 total for 2 entries, $500 bankroll piece. And you could easily bet half of your investment, maybe a third of your investment, to make money on the day. If you're going to get 2 to 1, 8 to 5, I'm afraid that number is going to keep crawling down. So if you're getting even money, it's going to be really hard to. But if that was your main threat, Arabian Night's not going to get you the contest. $1,500 at even money, let's just assume that's where it sits. That's not going to win you. It's $3,000. You need 8. So don't do that. Go push all of your money on a winning idea and use money on the side to make sure that you can walk away with a profit on the day to keep battling in contests. So
that's great.
Yeah, that's kind of the concept. In for even more advantageous, so many of us horse players like to be wise guys, right? Salute the stars. I'm talking myself into this horse. This might be my number one selection, but I don't need to bet $1,500 on it to win the contest. So I have a decision to make. Do I chisel a little bit of that $1,500 away into Salute the Stars to make sure I get up to $8,000? And if I can't, it's not going to take much, a couple $100. If I've bet 10% of my total investment in the contest, throw it on Salute the Stars. I'm betting $200 to get $2,500 back. Seems like an easy recipe.
Turns it into a winning day, more money in the contest coffers. All right, Drew, we're going to take a break because I want to throw it to an interview I recorded earlier today. This is the resumption of our celebration of horse players at the Breeders' Cup, and it's coming up right now.
Next up, we continue our series of betting moments from the 40 years of the Breeders' Cup. And the man you've seen on this network before doing our travel log pieces. Going to be a new one coming out soon covering Del Mar. There's already one on the YouTube site for Oaklawn Park. He is a horse player. He loves the game. He is Josh Wynn, which is also a pretty fantastic name for a horse player. Josh, how are things?
You know what? I'm good. I love that my last name is Wynn, but the way that I've been playing the horses is specifically in the Breeders' Cup. I should change my name to Josh Lose, or Josh gets shoved into a locker. So we're working on Social Security about getting my name changed, so it might not be with very long.
Well, this story isn't going too far back, and it was a good one. Why don't you set the stage? Tell us where we are, and give us a little background.
I think like a lot of horse players, I cannot handicap European form. I just don't know how to do it, and so I get crushed. Breeders' Cup is fun to watch. It's good to see the horses, but I never win. I mean, I might as well just light my money on fire. And so, but I keep coming back. I keep subjecting myself to getting beat up. And so Last year, I'm just about to have my first child, and my friends want to throw me a party. They affectionately call it a showering with men party. And the only day we could do it is over the Breeder Cup weekend. So I was like, hey, I'm in to do this, but just to give you a heads up, I'm bringing my iPad, and they're like, cool, no problem. We actually don't even care if you're there. We just want to get out for a weekend. So we go to a sports book in rural Wisconsin. I've got my iPad. My friends don't bet on horses a lot, but they just take my advice. Friday, we hit nothing. Saturday, we're hitting nothing. I mean, they're getting mad at me to the point where, like, you're buying beers for the rest of this trip because you're losing all of our money. And my luck changed. My luck changed, and I keep going unless you want it. You got anything for me?
Well, no, I just want to pause. I'll pull you up just to underline the whole showering with men concept. I think this needs to become a thing. I mean, why should the mom get to have all the fun when you can when you can bring this masculine version of the shower to fruition? But
you know, it's important. My wife saw right through it. She's like, this is just a reason for you to get out of here. And I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. I instantly text my best buddy and be like, hey, I need to come back with a few packs of diapers and some toys, or else I am in trouble. And I got the smallest packs of diapers, the smallest things of wipes, but I probably came back with like $25 with this stuff. So my wife was happy with that, at least.
It sounds like you could afford a bit more, because the way you're telling the story, I can tell your luck is about to change as you sat down and put your final ideas together for last year's Breeders' Cup Distaff, a race where Nest was a heavy favorite. And I think a lot of us thought, as much as we respected Nest, that might create some opportunities elsewhere. Where did you end up landing?
You know what? I'm always if a 3-year-old's running against older horses, they need to just be a phenom for me. And so I was like, I'm not taking Nest at whatever she was, 4 to 5 or whatever. Loved Malathot. No one else loved Malathot. She was a much higher price than she should have been. She's just a grinder. Loved it. So I told my buddies, hey, we haven't hit any college football bets. We haven't hit any parlays. I've missed everything today on horse racing. This is it. Let's pool whatever ducats you got left, and we're going to do a double. We're going to do half of it on a win bet, half of it on a double into Flightline, because I told them Flightline can't lose. Like, I don't know what would have to happen for a Flightline to lose. And the double was paying much better than it should. So we hit on this close of a nose. It is 12 guys around an iPad at a sportsbook cheering in a sportsbook, which looked very funny because there's TVs everywhere, and we're screaming. And I'm like, we got it. So we hit that. We hit Malathot. Flightline's ready. I'm telling everyone, we're spending our money already. We're like, I'm telling you guys, this is a foregone conclusion. So we took our winnings, and then we have a big double into Flightline. Feel good. And I'm like, I don't really like any of the horses in the British Cup Classic outside of Flightline. I like Olympiad. He had a rough Whitney. I was in Saratoga. I was like, I think this horse could come up and get a piece, because it's going to be demoralizing to watch a horse go off like Secretariat and beat him by 20 lengths. So let's make it interesting. And we did a straight, cold exacta from Flightline into Olympiad, and I look like a genius. I mean, if I was smaller, my friends would have picked me up like we were at a wedding or something. So the buckets of beer start flowing. Our luck had changed, but there's one more piece to the story. But any questions about that so far, Pete?
Well, no questions, just more, underlining some stuff. I mean, I love that idea, the bold exacta. And I'll tell you what, our friend Drew Coatney, who's watching, co-hosting with me today, he's very lucky you weren't playing in the Breeders' Cup Betting Challenge, because you wouldn't have to have spent that much to take that exacta and come and run after him. In fact, after that race came in, I was like, some wise guy, like, this exacta made sense and was an overlay, and some wise guy probably hit this, Drew, and passed you. He got very mad at me. I wasn't rooting against him. I just wanted to be prepared for the reality. No one did, of course. Drew won, but it does make me feel like I wasn't that wrong in my analysis, that you had such a strong opinion. So what happened next?
I wouldn't have caught Drew, because I would have been at zero much longer. I would have been drinking my sorrows, so I would have never been in the position where he was to bet six figures. I would have bet $6 maybe if I even had that left there. But I think it's a really good point about trying to find value into heavy favorites. You can find it, especially on big days like that, because you have a lot of like casual money that's in there. And so just like trying to find it. And I mean, our bet wasn't that big and we did really well by just being ice cold. So it's good. Yeah, so we win that money. I'm a king. My friends are pumped. We're heavily intoxicated. Like many times in my life, I think I'm lucky. And I'm like, guys, we're in the roulette table, which is so stupid. But I take a $25 chip, put it down in a number, bang, we hit it. We leave this casino with pockets full of money. My friends are like, no, we got to stay. And I'm like, guys, I'm buying the rest of the night. I think our luck has ran out. And it was, I don't know if I'll ever have those kind of 3 consecutive things happen. Win that race, win the Breeders' Cup, that race specifically, and then go over and hit a 30 to 1 shot, 35 to 1 shot on roulette. It was a fun time.
Josh, thank you so much. Going to be seeing much more from you on the network in both video and audio form. I'm looking forward to that and getting a chance to hang soon.
Pete, thanks for having me, man.
Good fun there with Josh and getting to think back to your BCBC win as well. That story, very fun stuff from him. Hey, let's shout out some of the people who are watching along. That's one of the fun things about the show. We can do the interactive bit as we're getting ready to go on to the track. So just very quickly, we'll shout out Lazy Dog and Rob Capalbo. Yes, I did take a picture in Italy wearing this very same fun get up here. We're in the summer state of mind, man. Kimbo joining in, passing along condolences about Golden Gate. Trish Smith liked my joke about Tappa Trice and is now going to refer to him as the stripper. I like that. And Rob compliments the two-fisted drinking here. Okay, we're going to the gate. So we need to talk about this race. We got a 2-5 favorite. Drew, did you use in the contest, or are you reaching for something at a bit of a price?
No, I'm just getting my 2-5 and moving on with it. I thought this was going to be a really short horse, but it's going to be right off the pace. And last time closed 10 lengths. I'm guessing there was something that I haven't watched the replay. I handicapped these fast, but Spirit of St. Louis looks really tough for Chad Brown. I think this is going to be a fun one to follow along. 4-year-old slow to get on the turf. Only 3 starts. I think this one's the goods.
All right. So you did go with the favorite. Where are you in the contest?
I'm like middle of the pack. I think I'm like 25th, 30th right now. So
okay,
I've got some bombs
16
in there.
Go. So in a way, like at this point, seeing 2-5 on the board, are you regretful that you're on at such a short price, or are you feeling like this could be the difference maker to hop you up a couple of spots and then let you hit something later that'll get you your goal?
Yeah, I've got a 30 to 1 I love later. So yeah, we should
tell us about that one.
Yeah.
Tell us about the 30 to 1 because we still have time to load before we throw this to Frank.
Well, my computer's slow to load these programs here. So if I can get to it, I will. I think it's in the 9th race. It's the number.
We can pick it up after the race if you don't have it right there. But I mean, hey,
Lucky 30 Curlin. It's running
to one shot. That sounds pretty cool.
Yeah, Lucky Curlin, the number 3 in the 9th race, has run some really strong numbers. Had 2 kind of clunkers, didn't have any pace to close into, and should have more today. And the figures are in the ballpark of where it needs to be. And Irad jumps aboard. I mean, it's not that creative of a story.
Right. Well, I mean, Irad makes me think that 30 to 1's a dream, but David Aragona's so good at making morning lines. That's just really interesting. All right. They look to all be loaded. Let's send it over to Frank Miramati.
And they're off. It's a quick beginning for Call Me Harry on the outside, and Spirit of St. Louis flashing very good speed too. Just behind them is Citizen K, a joint third on the inside of Conman, with Agent Creed in between those two. Conman having to steady just a touch, rounding the first turn. In the meantime, Ghost Giant loops up 3 deep to move up and be a joint second. This group is followed by Great Nut Warrior on the inside of Graded on a Curve, and Frank's Art at the back through a quarter in 24 and 2/5 seconds. Call Me Harry shows the way by a length. Ghost Giant is second, followed by Agent Creed Orange Cap on the outside. Spirit of St. Louis moving smoothly at the rail in fourth. Behind his entry mate, 2 lengths off the lead. Then Citizen K and Conman right together. Grape Nuts Warrior, Graded on a Curve, and Frank's Art. 48 and 4 for the half. Call Me Harry. A 3-wide bid coming from Agent Creed as Ghost Giant is the first to put pressure on the front runner. Spirit of St. Louis now about 4 lengths off the lead. Conman pushed along on the outside of Citizen K. They are followed by Grape Nuts Warrior as the field reaches the top of the stretch. Call Me Harry with something left. 2.5 length lead, but now here comes Spirit of St. Louis, just ambling by and powering to the front. Spirit of St. Louis marching through his conditions, and he does it stylishly once again. Spirit of St. Louis reports home about 4 in front. Call Me Harry was second. Agent Creed completes the exacta, and the rest between Frank's Art, Citizen K, and Conman.
Yeah, whoop. I think I'm back now. And we lost Pete. So here we go. My only regret is I didn't get to bet that. We were talking. I meant to go bet that horse at 1-2. I was looking to do a pick 3, but didn't have enough of an opinion in the next leg. So was going to do what I like to call kind of like a synthetic double at the end of the day. 1-2, as you saw, like, right, is it that great a value? No, it's not. It's not great value, but 1-2, if you're betting a number to then invest that money right back in to your next play, I feel like that's a good move. And so I'm kind of angry at myself, Pete. I'm telling the listeners, I forgot to bet that horse. I was betting the synthetic double of 1-2 into the 9th race.
Into your 30-1 horse later. Remind folks what that 30-1 is.
Yeah, the 30-1 horse is Lucky Curlin, the number 3 Irad gets aboard today and has run some competitive figures and gets a little bit of a pace to run into. So probably can't win, but I think there's going to be a lot of horses that are going to be in that 3 or 4-1 range. So I was going to play maybe 2 horses to win Dutched up.
Okay, that makes sense. Anything else later on this card you want to yap at? We're gonna let you go a little bit early. We got another special guest coming in here in just about 6 or 7 minutes time. Jessica Paquette going to be joining us, which I'm always excited to have her on these airwaves. And you've been playing hurt with us today, recovering from a little vocal thing. You must have taken my advice and done the hot tea and honey because you sound good.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I haven't had a drink since Sunday, so you having booze in front of me is killing me right now. But we need to get better. We need to get better.
Yes.
No, I think the number 7 Ramblin' Wreck at 7-5. That's a great one. Really ran against the pace the last time for Danny Garganoff, a long layoff, and today comes back with Irad staying aboard. So watch out for that one in the nightcap, the number 7. If I had my way, I would have bet in this race and probably just dumped all my money that I won on that to try and get to a number. Because right, if you start with $100, now you're at 150. That horse goes off at even money. You make 300. You more or less found a 2-1 shot in what looks to be 2 layup type races. So where else can you get a 2-1 shot in a good spot like this? So
yeah, that's an interesting way of looking at the world for sure.
Yeah, and I was gonna say with your Italian outfit, we moved too quickly because the race was coming up. I'm expecting
it's more Mexican, really, if you look thoroughly at it. We've got some agave plants on here. It's actually better for San Diego than it is for Italy. But
you do look like a proprietor of an agave farm in Costa Rica who is an expat, but completely has everything above water, allegedly. I think that's what the look we're going to see when I roll in on the train on Whitney weekend on Thursday and show up to your house. I want nothing less than the loafers with gold buckles on the top of them and just the most outrageous outfit. I can't wait. I'm pumped up to get up to Saratoga.
The thing is, in Saratoga, you still want to dress. I don't look for many, many years. I've gone to the racetrack in a t-shirt and shorts, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's totally Saratoga appropriate. But I feel like, on these big racing days, I've established myself as somebody who, tends to like to dress nice, and you just can't do it at Saratoga when a cool day is 85 degrees. You need some sort of alternative look. So I feel like this still, expresses some personal style, while at the same time you can be 90 degrees and you're wearing this, and it keeps you cool. It's like a state of mind.
Yeah, no, speaking of this, I live in golf polos. I'm like a 50-year-old dad at this point now. So I need to go shopping.
Wait a second. I'm literally a 50-year-old dad.
And you have more style than me. So I need to up my game is my point. So I may be hitting up our friend Jonathan to put a couple wardrobe
I like it
out there.
Yeah, there'll be a lot of JK shirts too, for sure, this summer. All right, let's read through our top 20. Kevin Lux resting first place with a score of 35.60. Amanda Couples getting in front of Chris. Their second and third, GT Nixon. Pete Dressens, Derek Vogt, John Bull III, Rick Vasquez, Ronald Guffey, David P. Burke, Mark Henderson, Jason Batts, Chris Couples again. There you are, Drew. You're in the money at the moment. In a tie for 12th, Tim Mazanik, Lou Arellano, and then double-barreled Dave Nichols, Jason Batts again, and Joshua, I'm going to guess Bodie there, rounding out the top 10. So, Drew, we are. I think we're ready to let you go. Ready to let you go and rest your voice, as I can see our next guest has arrived in the green room. But how about this? How about you and I tomorrow morning talk about a little Woodbine for the late week show? You up for that?
I think there's some stakes action flowing in there, so I'm pumped up for it. Queen Picasso, according to Portnoy, is running tomorrow at Saratoga. So just note that when you're looking at it. Queen Picasso will be cross-entered and I think is running at Saratoga on Friday.
Okay, that's interesting. What do you make of Queen Picasso's chances at Saratoga? Have you looked at the race yet?
I have not. No, I have not. No, I was excited to bet the horse in Woodbine, so that's why I was looking at it.
Gotcha. All right, well, that's good to know. We'll talk more about Woodbine. We can find that on the late week show. Rest up your voice, more tea and honey, and we'll be talking soon, my friend.
I look forward to having a drink with you soon.
Drew Coatney, ladies and gentlemen, we will let him get on to resting and relaxing and feeling better, and we will bring in our next guest, another one of my favorites. She is Jessica Paquette. Jessica, what's going on?
PTF, how are you? You're looking very sharp and very...
It's a controversial outfit, Jess. One of my friends here told me he wouldn't be seen in public with me because, as you can probably imagine, I do have the matching shorts to go with this top.
I would expect nothing less.
How are you doing? What's going on? What's your summer been like so far?
Summer has been great, back and forth between parks in Massachusetts. And we get a little bit of a vacation after next week. So 1 more week of racing, then 3 weeks off. Then we're back with some big stakes races, Pennsylvania Derby preview with the Smarty Jones Stakes. And in between, I'm going to go to Woodbine this weekend. And I'm sure over that 3-week parks break, I may appear at a few racetracks along the way.
Yes, I'm very excited for the return of Colonial Downs. While I completely understand why you can't be there this year, it's not quite the same without you.
Oh, that's very sweet. Everyone's doing a great job. The racing product is great. I hope folks support it. I know it is a little bit of a tricky schedule, kind of going head-to-head with Saratoga, but it's a great product with some really great horsemen and women.
And it's a good simulcast partner, really. And Caitlin's doing a good job in your stead. And we got Michael Domable on our airwaves, who's going to be doing a lot of stuff for covering Colonial Downs as well. So I feel like, it's the kind of place that is just going to continue, hopefully, to get more and more notoriety. And we're going to be covering it a bunch on the network, and hope to pull you in for several of those shows as well if you're still talking to me.
I can always be suckered in.
I love your shirt, by the way. Give us the history on that one.
It's an old Rockingham Park t-shirt. My wardrobe is essentially, if I'm not going to a racetrack where I look like a human, I'm just wearing old racetrack shirts.
The Rockingham one is very cool. That's a vintage number?
It is. It's old.
Fantastic. Well, it suits you, and it's very, very cool. Let's talk a little bit about what you're doing this weekend, because you will be, we can get your thoughts on these Woodbine races. Drew was just mentioning that they have a bunch of stakes races. What do the cards look like, and where can we find you?
Well, I haven't really had time to do a deep dive into the cards yet. That's my plan later this evening, maybe into tomorrow. But I'm joining our friends at ABR, going down to Woodbine. My first trip to Woodbine. I'm super.
Is that right?
It is.
It's great.
I'm just so excited. So I'm going to go down, cover the races with Dan on Sunday. And I just glanced at the overnight. It looks fantastic. What a spectacular day of racing. And it's an honor to get to be a part of it.
They've been great partners for a long time, really since the beginning of In the Money Media, one of our absolute first. And I look forward to going. I'm still trying to see if I can sneak my way up, and I'll see if I can say this without messing it up, to the King's Plate this August, and I'll definitely be there in September. And it's just this wonderful international city as well, where there's a lot of cool stuff to do. I mean, it's fine around the track, but I definitely recommend, if you get the chance to go downtown and check out some of the awesome ethnic eats, etc., I highly recommend downtown Toronto. It's so cool.
I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to a long run through the city. That's how I kind of explore a new city.
Yeah.
Is putting my sneakers on and going for a run. So I'm looking forward to that Sunday morning.
That's an awesome idea. Yeah, but they used to do, oh my God, the timing on this was so amazing. They used to do what they called a beer run. And it was the day after, for many years, it was the day after the Woodbine Mile. They eventually moved it to Woodbine Mile Day, at which point my wife could still do it, but I would have to always get there too early to work on the Saturday. But it was amazing. It was right on the right on the river there, right on the lake there, I suppose it is. And then at the end, it was like a billion local cool breweries there, and they were all set up with their little tents. It was a fantastic reward structure to get you out there running. So yeah, I would say go downtown and run. It's very, very fun stuff. So what is your current training goal? Do you have something in your sights?
I'm running the New York Marathon in the fall.
Awesome.
Unfortunately,
Awesome.
It's Breeders' Cup weekend, so it's going to be, I still in the back of my mind am so delusional. I think I'm going to go down for like Breeders' Cup Friday, then take a red eye to New York on Saturday, pick up my number and run a marathon on Sunday. This is the delusional thinking I'm currently living under, but we'll see. We'll see how the fall.
You could do that. What I thought you were going to say, what would really be delusional is what I considered doing one year, which was red-eyeing back and running the marathon.
I have to back it on Saturday, so I would do that, but I have to pick up the thing on Saturday.
Yes. I ran that idea by several people who'd run marathons, and they said, "You're kidding, right? Like, you cannot red eye and run the marathon on the same day." I said, all right, fair enough.
That's quitters talk.
The day before, though, I think that gives you enough time. And it's one of these things I was meant to run the marathon in 2020. That was the plan. And I ended up doing the virtual, which was a great experience, and I had so much fun. But it's, subsequently I have not had the opportunity because it's always Breeders' Cup weekend. But every, whatever it is, 6 years or so, you get it where it's staggered that 1 week. And the next time it is, I'm gonna give it every go. The brain is willing. The body may say no, but we're gonna give it a go. That's a fantastic goal.
It's mind over matter. And besides the marathon, I have some horses on the schedule coming up the next few weeks, which I'm looking forward to. I'm trying to qualify for Mass Finals, which is like a little equitation final here in New England, which seems fun. It's actually this year it falls on exactly the anniversary of when I broke my back, so it would be 2 years to the day. So that would be neat to do.
That'd be really cool. I think that'd be very, very satisfying. Do you feel that riding horses gives you any helpful perspective in terms of your wagering, or is it two totally different deals?
I think the understanding I have of horse body language and kind of horse physicality, which you do to a certain extent only get from sitting on them. Like, you understand the mechanics a little bit more. The more you're around them, the more you see them, or opportunities you have to work with them. One thing it does make it, I will very rarely criticize a jockey's ride. And I will criticize if they are unsafe, if they are obviously reckless, if they, don't use their turn signal when they're changing lanes, things like the things that you can control. But those split-second decisions, I make every bad choice riding every day that you can imagine. 40 miles per hour with like a bunch of people around me. So it gives me more of an understanding of how quickly things happen. And sometimes you just you're reacting, not thinking about it. And I can't fault someone for that.
Isn't part of it also that a lot of times what we see that looks like a bad ride could be the horse themselves being tricky, and like things that you wouldn't just be able to see from the replay? I mean, just from from riders that I've talked to, from quote unquote bad rides that I've seen, sometimes I'll talk later to the jockey and it's like, well, you have no idea. They were, you're trying to pull me to the outside rail. I mean, do you have sympathy for that point of view, or do you think it's more riders making excuses?
Oh, I think absolutely that's the correct way. And you're kind of you're riding what's underneath you. The best rider in the world is not going to make a bottom claimer into Secretariat, and vice versa to a certain extent too. Like even the best horse isn't, I mean, you could put me on Flightline and would lose. I would find a way.
I don't believe that, but I understand why you're saying it.
So it does go both ways. You kind of need to rise up to the quality of the horse that you're riding and better it as much as you can. But you also can't make something into something it's not.
Did you ever, in any informal context or anything, were you ever in a horse race, or has all of your stuff been but been all about equestrian disciplines?
I am not built for speed. There's nothing about this that goes fast. No, I felt like really prefer to do the hunters, which is jumping, but like do it slow and look pretty.
Yes.
No, I mean, when I do the jumpers, which I do enjoy doing a fair bit, we get time faults every time. I am the queen of time faults.
That's very funny. So we had you on earlier in the year talking about your Breeders' Cup betting memory to celebrate our Horseplayer 40-year stuff, when you told your excellent Caravel story. But I was curious to get, I know the Breeders' Cup was really very formative in your becoming a racing fan. I wanted to hear a little bit more. I think the listeners would enjoy to hear more about your experience with becoming aware of the Breeders' Cup, and then of course your kids to the Cup voyage as well.
I mean, the Breeders' Cup to me, as early as I can remember, it was the best. I mean, the Derby is the Derby, right? But Breeders' Cup, you get everything in one day. I think it turned out to be exactly what everyone behind it, who created it, envisioned it to be, and then some. So my first special Breeders' Cup memory was 1999 in Gulfstream Park, old magical, beautiful, perfect Gulfstream. And that was my first kids to the Cup trip. So it brought a bunch of us who had never really been to a major race kind of to the most major race. And seeing racing at that level, I had prior to that only seen racing at Suffolk Downs and Rockingham. And I mean, I love it the most, but seeing it at the very best, I kind of went, maybe 15, I think at the time. And I went, oh, I never want to do anything except this. This is it. This is all. And I have such vivid memories of some of the winners of that day. I also saw my favorite horse ever racing, Blazing Sword. He ran in the undercard. And for me, it was like, as like a nerdy teenager, getting to see my favorite racehorse in person was, I imagine how like some kid, like normal teenagers, not weird horse girls, would have felt about like seeing In Sync, like, and meeting them.
That's so great. I forgot about Blazing Sword. I was there that day. That may have been my first Breeders' Cup too, actually.
Oh, and look at us now. Like that meme. Look at us now.
That's fantastic. What you talked about some of the winners on that day. Who else stands out to you?
Delamy.
Yeah.
He was
special.
I mean, and so pretty, like in the way
lovely gray.
Yeah. And Matthew's had the big upset. These are in Artax.
Yep.
I couldn't tell you, what time my flight to Toronto is on Saturday, what I have to pack still, but I can tell you Breeders' Cup winners from 1995.
90s Breeders' Cup winners, no problem. Well, you've put that knowledge to good use. You are a winner of our Christmas quiz. We did the Christmas quiz last year with Rowan. No, you had some good. I edited the whole show. You had some good ones too. And then we're completely set up for a match to break the tie in that regard. Maybe this Breeders' Cup. Maybe we do a Breeders' Cup specific one. What do you think?
I think we should. Why not? That sounds great. That will actually help Nick and I, because it's the really deep dives into history that everyone else is a little better at than we are. Yes, like give me something from the past 30 years, please.
Pure degeneracy that you could bet on. That's where we want you and Nick. We'll bring in Jennifer and Emily for the if we have a question about King Charles or whatever, they're probably going to get it. So you mentioned about the park's schedule coming up, and especially what's going on in September. By my calculations, would you potentially be the first female race caller to call a Grade 1?
I believe I would. Yeah.
That's really cool. Is that something you have thought about at all? Is it something you're looking forward to? Tell me where you sit as far as that goes.
Oh, I'm super excited for it. It's every time I've gone through the Triple Crown races and then things follow it, like races following and the prep races for the Triple Crown, I just kept thinking, oh wow, I might get to call this one. This one might go to the Pennsylvania Derby, and that's really cool. And kind of thinking about just what a thrill and what an honor it's going to be to get to have a place in kind of the story of the 3-year-olds this year, and to tell that story on Pennsylvania Derby Day.
Well, we've got a good chapter unfolding on Saturday at the Haskell. Haven't prepped you for this at all, but have you happened to look at that yet?
I have, and you have to think Arabian Night wins, right?
That's how I see it.
To me, there are some horses that just are winners of certain races, like their running style, just something about them. Arabian Night's a Haskell winner.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's set up. We've heard in the quotes from owner Ramiro Restrepo and from Gustavo Delgado Jr. too, this idea that it's more of a prep. He's more 85%. Obviously the 100% mage would more than give him a race, but under the circumstances, it just feels like you got one horse that's completely laid out for this assignment, and another that it's the race that came up on the calendar, and it's hard not to go with the one who's completely laid out for the assignment in that case.
I think Mage, loses the battle, wins the war here.
Yeah, I'd love to see him. I mean, boy, he'd be such a worthy and terrific Travers winner. I'm hoping that's the way it goes. I'm a big Mage fan.
You will not survive that. How, you guys should start planning ahead for that.
Yeah. We might get some of those, in Vegas, they have the trucks with the IVs that help you with the horrible hangover.
Yeah.
Ramiro winning the Travers would probably require a fleet of those trucks.
I think that's there could be some branding done. Why don't you do that? In the money, mobile med spa. This is genius.
No shortage of good ideas. I had a very funny experience. I almost called you about this, but then I decided to just tell you. I thought it'd be more fun to tell you about it on air. So I'm at Windsor races the other week, Monday night in England. Windsor is one of my absolute favorite tracks. Mondays at Windsor they're so terrific. And there was a little simulcast area, and I go there and I'm hearing a particularly engaging race call that everybody is sort of gravitating towards, and of course it was you from Parks, and you sounded so good. And I was just like, I wish I could tell you the specific race, but it was a particularly good call, and I was that much more proud to know you.
Thank you. I will say, boy, do you know when you've called a good one as opposed to a mediocre one or a bad one, and I've done all three. It feels different. It feels different when you, kind of lose your step a little bit, and then you're just trying to keep up for the rest of the race. For me, it always feels like riding a jump around. If you knock a rail down or you miss a distance to a fence, you still have to keep going. And it's really up to you whether you let that spiral into you blow the entire course or you blow the entire race. Just keep going.
This was one of the ones I think after I could see you pumping a fist. It was very, very, you got to stretch. You were very good.
How do you know that I do that? They're very rare. A couple do get that.
That's fantastic stuff. Jess, what a pleasure to have you on. We're going to, no good deed goes unpunished around here. We'll have you back to talk more on some of these summer Horseplayer Happy Hours. Is generally speaking, 4 to 5 Eastern, is that a time you're around? Production meeting at the end of the show here?
I can always find time for you.
Well, I've got you fooled anyway, so that's good stuff. Really appreciate you. We'll thank you. We'll thank Drew. We'll thank everybody for participating in Horseplayer Happy Hour. If you weren't able to play today, get involved next week. It's just $20 to play. The house cut goes to charity. It goes to the Thoroughbred Aftercare Alliance and the Thoroughbred Retirement Foundation, an organization I know that you support very much, Jessica. So we'll hopefully be able to continue to raise some money and have some fun. And of course, it's a great deal for players too. 3 different ways to win your way into the Breeders' Cup Betting Challenge. And of course, all the more fun when you go in person this year out here at Del Mar once again. I already can't wait, and I'm looking forward to seeing you at least just for the Friday, Jessica.
That sounds great. I will somehow make it out there.
Maybe you'll need enough of a maintenance. You'll be ready to willing to go slow enough on your maintenance run on the Thursday or Friday that I can actually run with you and not completely get my doors blown off.
Get your mobile med spa to the Breeders' Cup too.
That is such a good sponsorship idea, I have to say. All right, we're going to thank Jess one more time. We'll thank Drew Coatney. We'll thank producer Craig for all the fantastic work he does. Most of all, I want to thank all of you for tuning in and playing. This show has been a production of In the Money Media and the Breeders' Cup. I'm Peter Thomas Fornatale. May you win all your photos.